Hello everyone and welcome to Advanced Game Design. My name is Roberto Dillon. I am an associate professor here at James Cook University and I will be teaching you this subject. My email is roberto.dillon@jcu.edu, so feel free to email me anytime. That is also my office phone number, and of course also feel free to get in touch with me and connect with me anytime on LinkedIn, or you can find me also on Twitter and other also social media sites and so on. Now, I've been in the game industry, both in the academic sides of things and research and teaching, and also in the industry developing different commercial games for quite a few years. But I have to say that the thing I'm most proud of is actually the results that my students have achieved. And I'm really very proud to say that several of my students are really working in the industry, are now working in some very high-profile franchises like Assassin's Creed, and also others instead have started their own studios and developed some very successful indie games across a variety of platforms. So I really look forward to see what you also are going to develop and play your games in future. So I really hope that you will be able to match this kind of results that others of my students did in the past. Now, coming to this subject, I hope that you will find this really interesting and entertaining. The idea of this subject is to give you a proper introduction to really the cultural context and relevance of games. So I really want to give you all the skills and strategies that you need to understand games and explain them. So it's really about a language to deconstruct key elements of games and then see how you can use it also to start prototyping new games and manage to really build a game from the ground up and be sure that all the game system can interact with each other and build on top of each other. Most importantly, also, an emphasis of this subject is to provide you the skills and knowledge to start testing if your game's ideas are good. In essence, this means that you will be able to do some prototyping and test your ideas as quickly as possible. Now, while we will discuss and analyze a lot of computer and video games, when we talk about prototyping here, it will be about board games. For those of you who don't have much experience in games and board games, then they may think that why board games? That sounds like an odd choice, but instead is a very logical choice to start making you understand how games work and how games are designed. And like Mike Pondsmith, who is one of the most, I would say, influential game designers of this day, said in a lecture that he actually did here in JCU last year in 2019, every video game has an invisible board game hidden in it. And it's very important that you start understanding the relationship between a computer game and a board game, because they are all games and essentially the kind of underlying structures and systems and how the systems interact is really, really common. And you can learn a lot also from board games and then transfer that knowledge towards the computer game domain. And you may have seen in shops and so on that indeed there are a lot of board games based on game mechanics and franchises also of video games. And it's this kind of synergies is something that I believe we will see even more in the past. And it's really important for game designers, especially for game designers at the beginning of their career, also because board games are nowadays an important part of the portfolio that a game designer should have. So if you ever plan to try to apply for a position as a game designer in future, you should have a portfolio which includes also board games. So this class is also has also the kind of feature that I want you to start building some board games that can possibly become part of your portfolio as well, and you can showcase to prospective employer in the near future when you apply for a job. So these that we have in the pictures here are actually some board games that were developed by students in the past. And you can already see from this picture that they did a very good job and a very good effort in developing a game that looks good and also will work well. Okay, we can start talking a little bit about the schedule of the subject now. So this subject is split in two main sections. We have the lectures, when I will go through different theories and explain also different genres and different type of games. And then we have the practical and workshop sessions, where instead we start playing games critically, and also start doing some interesting prototypes about different game concepts. There are different topics that we will cover in the next few weeks. So, well, today is just a basic introduction, but then next week we will start very seriously to discuss about game analysis and how we can try to understand what is fun in games and how we can try to model it and in a way try to discuss it also. So that is actually next week is going to be, I think, really the most important kind of class in the whole trimester. So we should pay very good attention to it. But then we are going to discuss many other topics, how to do brainstorming and start building prototypes. Then we will discuss war games. We will discuss the role of economic systems in games. We will also then discuss a little bit about game theory, and then ludology, narratology, all these also kind of more academic and game studies topics. But then we also get again into playing. I want you really to teach solid foundations in role-playing games, which are a very fascinating genre, but also the most challenging of all, in my opinion. And then we'll talk about storytelling, characters, and then to end with also puzzles and additional some more also about level design and so on. So that's the kind of the big picture. Each lecture we have an accompanying workshop where, as I said, we will either play some games and try to understand how they work, or also build prototypes that can be used also later as a portfolio and also as your final project as well. That's the important things. And this leads us to the assessment of the subject. So first of all, there is going to be a research essay. This is going to be about 1,500 words, and you have to submit it by the end of week 5. This is very important assessment because essentially it will make you play games critically, really try to think about what worked in those games, and also try to do some research from an historical perspective. So the idea of this research essay is to put yourself in the designer's shoes and try to discuss the evolution of a gaming genre of your choice across different generations of hardware. So I really want to I want to discuss, let's say, football games. And you go from the very beginning of football games on the Atari 2600s, and then take a few more through the different 8-bit, 16-bit computers up to the latest FIFA, for example, and discuss how the simulation actually evolved and improved. And you can do this across all other gaming genres as well. I will give more information on this later, but an idea of what this first assessment is going to be. Then you also have to take a journal, which you have to do it online on your own blog. And on this journal, you will have to essentially write some reports from each week workshop. So what have you done, what you have enjoyed, or what maybe you have not enjoyed so much, why you think that the game was good or not good, and so on. And also analyze at least 5 video games as well of your choice. We will go through these in detail during one of the workshops, but essentially you will have to analyze these games with the analytical methods that I will teach you next week as well. So that's also why next week is really very important. Then also very important, we have the final project. So the final project due in the last teaching week of the trimester. This should be a game prototype that you will submit. For the game prototype, I always recommend that you don't start from scratch, but you use one of the prototypes that were developed during the trimester, during the workshops, and then polish it, expand it, make it better. And that will be your final project. You also have to submit the rulebook, which will be a very important component of the assessment, as well as the presentation slides that you will use when you show me your project. And last, we have also a final exam, which will be a set of questions, usually not MCQs, they tend to be open-ended questions, but they are all based on material that you have seen in the slides. So it's if you study well and follow the slides properly, then you should have no problems for the exam either. So all these subject, I think, is made to be fun and enjoyable. We will play games, and you have to play games as a homework as well. So I hope you will really find it exciting and interesting. Nonetheless, I want to stress that this is not going to be an easy subject. So if you don't do what I expect you to do, then be ready to face the consequences. So I will not let you pass if you don't deserve it. So be ready to study and put some effort.